Okay, it's been a while since I recorded a video. I have upgraded my computer, my main computer. It's now a gaming computer, and the reason is because those work really well for video editing. So I'm using a gaming computer. It's from CyberPower PC. I customized it. I'll probably shoot another video to just talk about that. But it took, well, we're out of COVID, and so I did much fewer virtual presentations, and then at some point I just did not continue to keep in touch with my own touch portal and make sure the touch portal is still working. And then what I found one day was that it's not working anymore. I was asked, I got it to work, and I'll tell you what I did, but I was asked by people what is my current setup, people who saw my setup ever since I started using it again. So I'm using Touch Portal instead of Stream Deck. It gives me a lot more flexibility. It's operating off of my iPad. What you see here is exactly the same thing that I see in my iPad. And since I was asked to share what I have here or how I set it up, I will do just that. A couple of things before I start. What you see here in the bottom is the connected to iPad. That just stopped working. My iPad would not connect, and I figured it has to be something with the firewall. It actually wasn't. The only thing that it was that there was a new build. I think I was maybe on something like 2.3, and it just didn't work anymore. And all I had to do is just upgrade. Right now, as you can tell, I'm running 3.1 build 8, and there's already, there was build, I guess there was some point 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I need to update this as well, which I will. But for now, I can show you what I can demonstrate my current setup, which is working. You can see the iPad is connected, and I'll demonstrate it with the current version. So there are multiple screens. My main screen has this. Mainly I use it for OBS. There is a zoom control screen, something that I use for Flight Simulator or Digital Combat Simulator, and Premiere Pro for editing. But really the only one that I use is the OBS one. Keep in mind that clicking here is not like clicking on the iPad. This is just going to show you what this button specifically is programmed to do, and you can see that what it does is it actually goes to a specific page. So if I would go into run and open, actually I'm not sure that it's there. It's going to be somewhere here where you go to page the different actions that you have. But right now I'm just going to show you the OBS screen. So let's close this button and go to the OBS screen. So this is my setup for OBS screen. One thing that you may have noticed, and I think it would work even now. Let me go to my iPad and run Touch Portal and just see what this does. It actually does it, but on a different screen. If I had the screen that shows me, which would be number 1, if I had number 1, then you would see that this button actually turns on and off the live that I have there. But I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm going to start with the bottom. And at the bottom, what I have is I've set up at OBS 9 different scenes. And I created these buttons, and in one of the videos I showed how to create these buttons, the graphics for these buttons, to demonstrate what these scenes are going to be like. So right now we're actually operating on number 5, which is only the screen. Now I have 3 screens in front of me, and you'll see I'll show how I use the different screens or select between the different screens up here. But here, down here, what I have is I have screen number 1, which is myself. And here is what I do. When I go in here, you will see the options, the actions that I have. are going to be, one of them is actually OBS. So if I go to OBS, there is a scene selection. So there is a scene collection, but there is also a scene selection. Let's see where it is. Separate, by the way, the actions from the event itself. Event is something else, and you'll see because I'm actually having what's going to happen on the event. But when you press, let's see where we select screen. One of them is going to be, oh, sorry, set screen. So if I would click this, it would say this is the screen that the scene that I'm selecting. This is relatively easy because you can only have one scene at the time. So as we go to the second one, you'll see that the scene selection is the second one. If I go to the fifth one, you will see that we're selecting a specific scene. I don't have to disable any other scenes. All I have to do is just select the right scene. Now, when I do the on event, notice that once again, if I'll go down to OBS, and instead of taking any of the blue ones, I'm going to take the green ones, and I'm saying when the OBS active scene is, so on scene selected, is, and I'm saying that it changed. So notice that it doesn't really look at what is the scene that's selected. It really looks for the changes, which initially is going to look a little weird because you're going to look at your iPad or your iPhone and realize that it's not red. It doesn't show as red. It really would turn when you change into scene 5. So if it detects that you changed into scene 5, what I did was I changed the icon here to I did the icons both in gray and in red, so it's going to change it to red. You don't actually have to have the background color because this thing takes the entire thing. And then when it is not changed to scene 5 or screen only, when it's coming out of it, then it's going to go back to gray. Okay? So that's what I did on event, and that's what will happen. This is what's going to make, whenever I click on this button, this is what will make it red. Right now, if you looked at my iPad, you would see that this button is actually red. So again, these are the different scenes. These are the backgrounds. Now, backgrounds are different. What I did was I have set up, let's choose this. I have set up a scene called camera background. Okay, so my overall scene, and I'm going to shoot another video that shows actually my settings within OBS itself. But I have set up a scene that has the camera backgrounds, all the different backgrounds. So I'm choosing that scene. Here are all the scenes that I have set up in OBS. The one that we're in right now is 5. You saw that before. But the one that I'm playing with right now is the camera background. So there is a scene for camera background, and there are multiple sources there. And you can see that the source that I'm using here is F18. So whenever I choose that, I'm going to choose F18. Note that what I did here, what I chose is toggle. So I can decide that I'm going to show that source, that I'm going to hide that source, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle them. And so what I essentially did here in this line, and I think it's a good idea because I'm doing one thing here and another thing here, you will see. Here I'm just adding them one on top of the other. And essentially the background you're going to see is the highest one on the sources list for that specific scene in OBS. So I can click several of them. And in fact, if I do that right now, when I'm looking at it, I can see on my computer, on my iPad, that I have several of them in green. Which, by the way, let's go back to event. Event, I'm just changing the background color to green. And you notice that these buttons are actually defined as text. I did not create any specific logic or any specific PNG or JPEG file. I just wrote the text here, capital letters, centered it, it's white, the font is default, I didn't choose anything in the middle of the button, so middle horizontally and middle vertically, vertical offset, horizontal offset, and so on. I did do shadow. I guess we don't see the shadow very much, doesn't have a big effect. Text size, actually, I chose as auto, so give me the biggest text size that would fit there. So again, once I am clicking that button, when we sense that it becomes visible, the dual technology video becomes visible, then it's green. When it becomes hidden, then it is gray. You do your own button. So this is what I have here. So here I'm actually selecting a scene. Here I'm selecting the camera background in the camera background scene, but I'm just toggling them. So in and out, in and out, in and out, and I can actually have multiple, except I'm not going to see all of them. I'm only going to see the top one. These are different components. These are actually different logos that I have there. So for example, I'm going to take the T-Bot logo. This actually is a button that I brought in. You see up here, there are assets. You can actually either buy things or some of them are just free. So I found those buttons that I really, really liked. And one other thing that I like about it is that when it's active, it's going to have a red version of this button. So the text was separate. The text is here. The image is here. And depending on the event, if the button becomes visible or the source, a specific OBS source. So it really, what it does is it goes to OBS, and when it sees that the source T-Bot, which is the name that I have for this logo, when T-Bot becomes visible, switch to red. So what I'm going to see on my iPad is that it's red. When it becomes hidden, switch back to the dark one. So this actually is black, it kind of looks like it's purple here. Okay, so once again, in terms of pressing it, I toggled it. So theoretically, I can have multiple logos at the same time, all at the same time. So again, here I just selected, and when you select one scene, the other scenes go away. Here I toggled, so I can have multiple, but you're just going to see the top one. Here I toggled, but since those are PNGs, so they have transparent background, you may actually see them one on top of the other. It's not great, but you know what? It's not that big a deal. The thing is, and the reason I did that is because these are things that you would only do once. You're going to do that before you give your webinar or any other virtual presentation. And once you do that, you choose which logo, you choose which background. The thing that you're going to play with are going to be the scenes. So this is just me, whatever the camera shows. This is me in front of an entire screen, me in front of it, but on the other side, me in a smaller window, and the rest is in a smaller window. The screen only, external camera connected through USB. This I like, has an interesting background where I look like I'm inside an iPhone and there's a Mac screen next to it. 8 is me kind of in front of the screen, so I'm taking a bigger shape. And 9 is just the opposite of 4, so I'm on the left versus I'm on the right here. And it really depends on what you're comfortable with, what your audience is comfortable with, what your viewers are comfortable with. Now let's talk about the screen. So as I said, I have 3 different screens. But this time, since this is something that I may have to switch, and by the way, the way you see them organized is really the way that they are on my computer. So I have a big screen on the left side, I have two smaller screens on the right, one on top of the other. And so you can see how clearly it says that which one you're going to select, but I cannot have this just be toggle, because if you do toggle here, then you might have several screens, one on top of the other. This is something that you're doing on the fly. This is not very comfortable. So what I did for every one of them is, instead of toggling, what I did was, if you press this button that has this icon on it that says screen number 2, it will show, again, there is a scene called the display window, which is used in the different scenes that you saw here below. For this, it will show the Samsung screen, which is this one. That's the big 32-inch Samsung screen. And it will hide the other 4. The Dell screen, which I believe is this one, yeah. The Asus screen, which is this one, and the HDMI external. So it's HDMI converted into USB. So on event, again, when screen number 1, left one, became visible, then it became blue on the iPad. And when it became hidden, then it went back to gray. So if I look at the this one, for example, you would see that it would hide the Dell, hide the Samsung, but show the Asus, which is this one in the bottom, and hide the other one. And obviously, if I'm going to go to the HDMI external, it's going to hide all 3 and show only HDMI external. And once again, show this screen, change the background color to blue. So that's what I've done here. This makes it a lot easier, so you're not just toggling one of them, but you're actually enabling the screen and disabling the others in one shot. One more thing that I did here that I want to show you is I hired someone on Fiverr to do some visual video logo work for me. And what they did was they gave me several videos, and what I did was each one of those, I would show the scene. I called it effect overlay, so it's something that's on top. And I'm going to switch to OBS so that you'll see what I did. Effect overlay. And so effect overlay scene would have intro 49. So these are the different videos that I created. And one of them, by the way, is actually a PNG, so it doesn't really block everything. I'm going to show you later how that works in OBS. So we're going to have the different intro, and we're going to wait for 10 seconds because, you know, that video can stop there, can remain there on the screen, and then we're going to hide it. After 10 seconds, I'm going to hide it. I'm showing green and all. It's really just because I copied buttons, but it really doesn't do anything. It just, you hit that button, you get this video for 10 seconds, then the video goes away and you can see me. Now what I'll do is I'll switch to OBS and I'm going to show you how everything fits together with OBS. Just again as a summary, this is how I select the different scenes that I have programmed up front in OBS. This is how I select the background within a scene that's called camera background. This is how I select the logo within a scene that's called logo background. But I toggled them here, I toggled them there because, you know, I just didn't want to go through the hassle of enabling one, disabling 7. Enabling one, disabling 7 for each one of them. Could have done that, which would mean that when you press one button, you eliminate the other one. But since this is something you do before the presentation and only once, I didn't mess with this. And then selecting the screens, this is where I'm actually selecting a source, a screen source for one of the scenes, the screen scene. But for each one of them, what I did was show one and hide the others. Okay, what I'm going to show you now is what my setup looks like on OBS. So now you can see me because I'm coming through the camera to one of the scenes. We are in main scene, which is this one. If you saw my iPad, you would see that it is red. You can see that my background is blue. This is lit up. This is in green in my iPad. I have the Trust Show here is lit up. The others are not. So if I would hit, let's say, the DIY, and again, I can't do it on here because this is just the interface and it's not the actual control panel, but I'm hitting this on my iPad and you can see that now you have the DIY speaker kind of hovering on top of it. Both of them are red. I actually have to kill the other, so I hit the Trust Show and now this one is black. I'll go back to the Trust Show. The same with the backgrounds. So the background F18, I'm going to bring up the F18. You can see my F18 background. And, you know, even if I eliminate the blue, which I did, I toggled the blue by hitting the blue button, you don't see any difference, and that is because what you see is the top one, and the top one right now is the F18. Here, same you saw already for the logo. Here, the selection itself, I'm going to select the different screens, and this is, we're currently on screen. Oh, we don't actually have a screen here. All you see is me, so I have to choose something that has a screen. So I'm going to choose number 7. Again, I'm not clicking on the computer. I'm actually clicking on the iPad, on the iPad screen. So I chose this one. I told you this is a kind of a cool one where I'm appearing in the phone, and this is my screen, the screen that I selected, which right now is my leftmost screen. If I hit this button, button number 3, it's going to bring my right top screen. If I hit button number 1, it's going to bring my bottom right screen. So this is how I bring the screens. And again, it enables one or selects one or shows one and hides the other to make things simple. I told you that there is this live thing, so you can see the live up here. And if I hit this button on my iPad, you can see that the live goes up and down. And again, this might be because that's something that I wanted to do. I don't remember if I did this on top of everything, so I'm just going to go back to 1. Okay, this is what happens when you think that the button itself is or the screen itself is what does the trick. So on my iPad, I went back to 1. Remember, this is going to enable a video. Once again, I click to the screen instead of clicking it on the iPad. This is what happens. This is what you're going to see. For 10 seconds, remember, 10 seconds, it stays here, and then it just hides it. Let me show you the settings in the iPad. What I'm going to do this time is I'm just going to put another screen so I don't have to look at myself in this screen. Here are the 9 main scenes, you know, that correlate to this. 9 main scenes. Camera background. You know what, let's just take one of them and kind of look at what you see here. Camera background, remember that the higher you go, really physically, the higher you go, the more you're going to get those layers that are on are going to be on top. So the bottom one is the camera background. That's the blue that you see here. But note that it's a scene. It's not just a source. It's a scene. And there is a scene here called camera background. So we actually bring it up. I have one that's Star Wars. You know, I can probably disable it. I'm not even sure what the image is. There are a few here. Shadow scene. So I created a shadow scene. I don't remember. Yeah, there's a shadow scene here. The thing is, shadow scene really increases CPU consumption, except not so much here because I can see that it's really only, you know, we're still just over 1%. Again, this is a gaming computer, very powerful, has an i9 11th generation processor, a GPU, a 3070, NVIDIA 3070, 64 gigabytes of RAM, NVMe drive. very fast. So this is a very powerful computer, so it doesn't affect performance too much. This is the camera. So this is the camera that's used here. That's the Nikon D3500 going through an HDMI to USB. Yeti, that's the microphone that you're seeing here. Now we have the logo scene. Once again, it's a scene. It's not just the logos separately. Live scene, that's this thing here. Again, it's a scene. It's not just the button. Because otherwise, I would have to just modify every time I press live, the live button. I would have to modify it in every single scene of the 9 here, or these 9. And then I have an effect overlay. These are these videos here, the 4 videos. So if I take this one, this is the one that's actually just a PNG with no background. So you can see that it's hovering over my face as opposed to completely filling the screen. Okay, so this is scene 1. Scene 2 is kind of, well, I guess that if this is scene 2, then scene 3 is probably going to be better because you can see that this was brought in. What do I have here? I have again the display window. This time we do have a display window, and you can see that the display chosen is this one, number 1. With one button, I can press here, not on the screen, but really on my iPad, and change that scene. Or choose this one, and it's all going to be creepy because we have picture in picture in picture in picture. Okay, one thing you realize is because the microphone is in the picture, it makes it a little problematic. I can take the microphone out of the picture, which would make more sense. Or I can just choose, here's exactly the same scene, but just on the opposite side. You can see that the sources are the same sources. The problem I have here is I didn't really do good green screen manipulation here, so you can actually see that it's not completely eliminated. Number 4, we have dual. I use this one a lot. You can see that here there is a tech. And tech is this thing in the background. So this is actually a video that's running. Again, it's a scene. The scene is right here, defined right here. Microphone, logo scene, that's where the logo comes in. Live scene, that's the live thing. And effect overlay, these are these things that if I press one of them, it's going to take over the entire screen and show video. And for 10 seconds, after 10 seconds, it's going to hide it. I'll switch back. I'll switch back to this screen. No, I'm not gonna switch to that screen. That's just gonna. No, okay, fine. We'll do it that way. It's kind of creepy that you can see me here and here and here and here and somewhere over there. Doesn't matter. So this is my setup. This is my current setup. I haven't touched it in a while. Again, pay attention. Make sure that you have the latest one. There should be a notification. Get the latest one. The upgrades are not done automatic. One final thing that I want to remind you that I said in a previous video, and that's go down to the bottom here. And in the bottom here, you know what, let me switch to full screen so you'll see what I'm pointing to. The bottom here, for some reason, when Windows turns on, it just senses the microphone and determines what the volume is for the microphone by itself. You can see it never does that for the speakers, but the microphone, I guess it's kind of listening to the background, deciding what is the noise level, sound level, and then determines by itself. Right-click, sound setting, scroll down to the microphone. I found that a setting of 70 for me with this microphone in this environment is the best. Just do it manually. Do not assume that Windows remembers what it was last time. It probably did remember, but it modified it. That's it. This is my setup. I hope this has been helpful. Like, share, subscribe to this channel, do whatever, enjoy.